we are in the business every day, every minute of every day, of doing what we say we're going to do. And I think it's a lost art today. I don't think that people embrace it the way that they should.
Welcome to Your Next Big Project is You, a podcast based around the theme of time. Time to be able to press pause on life. Time to reevaluate what's important. Time to reminisce about where you've come from, what you've learned, and what you've accomplished. Time to revisit your goals, dreams, and vision. And time to remember the people in your life. That's it, my friends. If you've got time, fasten your seatbelt and listen in as we discuss opportunities for the next 5 to 25 years of your life. And remember, your next big project is you. Welcome to our podcast. Your next big project is you. And when you've got a friend here that you've known for 44 years, and I was thinking about this, my good friend John Connelly is joining me today. Best way I can describe John is a devoted husband, a father, an amazing entrepreneur, a passionate musician, and a consigliere, as I'm going to define him, because he's the guy that we all call when we need to open up our hearts and souls, because John's one of these guys that can give us the black and white answers all the time to our problems in life. So, John, my dearest friend here in beautiful Buffalo for the last 44 years. And you know what's ironic? That bring on the competition. I was just thinking that's a gift that you gave me when I started my company, May 27th, 1992. So I'm aging myself and you with this podcast. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, Leo, great. It's great to be invited and great to be part of this today. I'm looking forward to it.
You know what's funny? When I was preparing some of the questions for us to talk through your life and business journey and some of the takeaways and just the poignant moments in your life and the wisdom and insight that you've been able to garner over these years, I said, I could play John on this call. He could play me because we both have the answers to the test. If I could beat you answering all these questions, I think you could be me answering all these questions as well.
Yeah.
So I think the beauty of this is when you open up your heart and your soul to someone, as we have done to each other for the last 44 years on occasion, it forms a special bond of trust and friendship that's pretty remarkable. So I remember when we first met at the Buffalo Convention Center, we were both in the office equipment space after our collegiate years. We met, and that began a long-term friendship. And you started a journey where at some point, I know your dad, which we'll talk about in a few minutes here, pretty much said, you got to really start your own company, or there's a story, there's a backdrop to that. Tell us how Promotional Images, one of the finest companies really under the radar that you've developed, that competes and wins mandates with some serious companies and helping them with their branding and some of their marketing issues and how they need to look and feel to this. How did this all come about, John?
Leo, I think for me, it's always been just a constant challenge of finding that passion, that thing that you love, that you believe in, that then becomes so easy to work at, to convince others to follow. Back in the convention center days, I believe that was the grand opening of our Buffalo Convention Center. We were side by side in office automation booths and kind of got to know each other over the fence there. That was definitely not my passion. I knew that it would be some form of selling, and that was my first stop. And I stayed at it for quite a while, not wanting to quit on it, but it really wasn't something that I got excited about, as you know. the one consistent sort of constant in my life was always the band and the music. And I would always kind of be coming home from one of the gigs and saying, gee, I'd love to find something that I could sort of call my career and sort of build on during the day that would give me as much enjoyment, satisfaction, et cetera, et cetera. It was the old Marv Levy, where would you rather be than right here, right now?
Right,
When
right.
I play the music. It was, this is exactly what I should be doing. And so it was very, very hard for me early on. As you know, I have a lot of intensity sometimes that doesn't get managed properly. I wanted to find that passion during the day. So the other thing I think that was key was, as you know, I was close to my dad growing up, and probably his main message to me or mantra was, to be successful at anything, you need to do what you say you're going to do. In other words, if you make a commitment to someone, you honor it. If you say in our business that you're delivering the product to Caesar's Palace for the golf outing on a specific day, it's got to be there and the box is marked, et cetera, et cetera. And I learned actually early on by working for someone else that when that person tells you that they'll honor the commitment and they don't honor the commitment, it's kind of your reputation that's on the hook. So
right.
that really was like a main motivator for me early on to not only find my passion in selling, but to be able to do it for myself. So when I would make that commitment to the client, to the customer, I know deep in my heart I could honor it.
Yeah. You know what? You use the word intensity and you use the word honor sometimes here in what your dad said. I remember you used to have that, was it a sign or something over your office you'd look at about doing what you say you're going to do?
Yeah, it was a neon sign actually that I had made. It's about 12 feet wide.
Yeah.
Light blue neon. And it was part of our company brochure, and it was something that when people would come through for a tour of the building or whatever, I'd be out selling, dropping a brochure. This is promotional images.
Right.
And say, what's with the sign? They'd say the sign, this is like 80% of the reason why this works for us, because we are in the business every day, every minute of every day, of doing what we say we're going to do. And I think it's a lost art today. I don't think that people embrace it the way that they should. I mean, how many times have you had someone call on you and they say, Leo, I'll follow up with the quote and I'll do this and this, and they disappear. And you're not surprised, because it's just part of what happens today. And we're kind of old school in that regard. The do what you say is our Bible. It's really it's what we try to achieve every day.
You are probably as intense as anybody I know, but it's a real positive description of intensity. It's the intensity around doing what's right. It's the intensity around integrity. It's intensity around honoring your word. It's intensity around when we kid around about this, about, hey, it's either black or white, or it's this or that, but it's the intensity of living a life of core values that you were taught. And so that's some people say, man, he's too intense. Well, damn right he's intense. He's intense about crossing T's and dotting I's, and doing exactly as he said he should do. And you're probably not going to find anybody at that level that would literally do whatever is right to make something right. And so when we talk about that, I want to make sure that anybody listening understands that from my perspective, the power of being honorable, the power of living to our core values today. And that's really, John, what you represent. So that's what I love you for, from knowing you all these years. And think of all the things that you've accomplished. Were there any specific milestones? And tell us again, what year did you officially start the company?
1986 in
86.
September. Yeah.
So 86. So we're bordering on what, a good 40. We're going on 40 years pretty soon here, right? In the next couple of years for you.
Correct.
Yeah. What would have been some of the things that make you smile more than others when you think of some of the things that the company has done, or the people you've impacted, the companies you've been privileged to work with, the people you've gotten to know?
You know, when it's your journey, a lot of the time you don't really take a step back and look at where you came from and where you started and where you are present day. And I think the thing that I would be most proud of, and I've told this story 100 times. We have a holiday / Christmas party every year, and you want to get up and say something kind of meaningful and profound to your group. There's 25 of us today, and I always fall back on the thing that I'm most proud of isn't that we started in the garage with no leads, no clients, no customers, and have grown the business to this point today. The thing I'm really the most proud of are the qualities of the people that are sitting in this room. And I'll go usually one at a time around the room and just say, this is really what makes me proud. When a person comes in off the street looking for product or calls us, whatever, they'll say, God, like, where did you find these people? These are quality people. They're respectful, they're polite, they're friendly, they're smiling at me. Like, how did you assemble this team? That's really what I'm most proud of. And I think the thing that motivated me the most, one of the things, you had asked me to think about for today was, what was it that motivated you to go into your own business? It's being able to kind of set that precedent and be in control of it, and not let someone else make a false promise to you that you bring to the client and it doesn't happen.
Yeah.
That is like the worst thing that could ever happen to me. And it happened to me early on in my career. People say you learn from others what the right things are to do, and you also learn from others the things that you're not going to embrace and pass along to your people.
Yeah. John, where'd you come up with some of these great models or sayings? Did you come out of the crib and your mother would just say, what is it, Johnny, that I'm saying that you don't understand?
Yeah.
Johnny, am I speaking Spanish to you right now, or French? Right. You've got this ability to net it out, black and white. Like, come on, why aren't we doing this? You've been some people, and you've got this gift of just being able to speak from your heart and just to acknowledge someone else's feelings. But some people don't have that ability, and it's not meant to be confrontational. It's just meant to say, hey, we got to come to a solution, but
yeah,
what am I missing here? Where'd you learn this stuff?
I think, I think you know the answer to that question, but I know that you've met my dad. You've spent a good amount of time around my dad. And I don't know if there might be a little window of time here where you might just for a few minutes describe your journey and what one of the key turning points was for you to start your own company. But I think that my dad was such a strong influence and such a powerful influence in terms of the being able to just get right to the issue. And sometimes people maybe can't handle it, think it's a little too strong, a little too harsh. I've spent a good part of my life trying to tone that piece of me down because some people are a little intimidated by it, you know.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
for me, it was my day to day. This is the way he raised me. This is the way. Somewhere over Chicago was my moment of clarity, as you say, to coin your phrase, of I had to go into business. You know, I was working for a company out of Syracuse that was in the business, but there were a lot of things out of place. And my dad and I were on a father and son trip to Las Vegas that we would take every year, and we were flying somewhere over Chicago, and he asked me the 3 or 4 key questions, and he turned to me and he said, "Well, you got to go into business. I mean, it's black and white. It's simple." So for the rest of the trip, I was a bit of a nervous wreck, knowing when I get home, I've got to completely change my life. And I remember a similar situation when we were at the ground round together, when you brought the Band-Aids to the luncheon, and my dad just makes it appear very black and white. Here are the 4 questions. You've answered them. Like, what are we waiting for? So I decided on a trip to Las Vegas, after talking to my dad, you know, said, you got to go in business for yourself. I mean, if you're going to really control your destiny and manage your commitments and your promises, it's the only way.
Yeah.
And it is the only way. To me, it's the only way. But,
you know, as you're telling this, and I can put my 2 cents to the story here. This is a very special podcast for me, for people to introduce you to people that are following, you know, some of the podcasts that I've done and things. I'm looking at a picture of my dad as I'm talking to you over here. We're 2 of the guys that were privileged to be with our dads for their last breaths, right? Both of us. And we both learned a lot from our fathers. And this is something to bring to this. And I'll give a plug out to a guy by the name of Drew Dudley. He's a guy that's one of the top TED Talks of all times, you know, over 6 million views. And he talks about these lollipop moments, those moments where someone had an impact on you, but maybe you didn't fully tell them. Well, they really significantly impacted your life. And I was, you know, to finish your story there, I was on that, sort of had the life jacket still on, or I was on the plank, and that final push came from you, like in bewilderment, as your father pretty much stuck a knife at that ground round in my face. And I guess when you're 37 years old with 3 kids, and someone looks at you that really cares about you and pretty much nets it out and says, listen, you know, based on these 3 or 4 questions, the next time I see you, you haven't started your business. He used a word that I won't use on our podcast today. It preceded the word loser. Then that's what you are, and I don't ever want to see you again. That was that lollipop moment for me. That was that moment. That was that moment of when I look back 31 years ago or so, when I started my company. It was you sitting there with your father, pushing me over the edge with just the questions. They were I just had to answer the questions. Yes. So you have enough money to do this for the next 6 months, right? And you think you can do this beyond that, right? And you can do this. Wow. And it's funny what we've learned. And I'm hoping people that listen to this today realize all these core values, quite honestly, that our country needs today, right? About civility and respect and being honest with each other and doing what's right to help each other, to do things like this. This is how I know you were brought up and how I was brought up, and you've turned it into this, you know, phenomenal entrepreneurial organization serving some of the finest, you know, companies, quite honestly, throughout the United States, and what you're doing and stuff. So it's interesting, John, when I see some of these principles that are near and dear to your heart. I was privileged as well to have you come out to Arizona, you just a few years ago to experience something that's near and dear to my heart. We talk about our sabbatical experience, and we talk about principles of living a life with significance, living a life with no regrets, living a life with abundance, which is our time, our talent, our treasure of helping people, living a life with gratitude, living a life with perspective, of realizing what we have and what others don't have, realizing a life of being your best version of yourself, and realizing that we've got legacies that we're working on, but what can we do to live them right now by living a life of intensity around honor, and taking care of people properly to do this. Thinking back on that, I know you made a couple good friends while you're out there. What were some of those principles that still stand out to you today? How it bleeds into your day-to-day conversations, maybe subliminally, or being more mindful or more present, or things like this. What are some of those things that you might be able to bring to the table for us?
Leo, I think that I may have commented on your website after the sabbatical, and I hope this will satisfy the question. It was just amazing to me to be out there and to meet people that up until that point were total strangers to me, and the amount of honesty and vulnerability from the first 5 minutes that we all sat together in that beautiful setting is a tribute to the relationships that you've developed. That I looked around that room and said, these are all people that are very close to Leo, and I know Leo, so I can let my guard down around these people. And a lot of what impressed me by being there was that, which I'm a huge believer in. You talk about honesty and integrity, and for me, I think the word is ownership. I think a lot of these folks just took ownership to say, hey, years back when I started my business, it was so overwhelming for me that I maybe neglected the family, or I wasn't there as Mr. or Mrs. Balance, trying to keep it all in order. And to be able to make a statement like that in front of people that you don't really know, it was probably a once in a lifetime for me to be out there, to experience the open and candidness of these people. It was remarkable for me.
Yeah. Hey, John, before we get off here, I want to just talk about some of your passions.
Okay.
I know your wife, Nicole, your two daughters, talked about your business, but your music as well. That there's something about you that there's a whole nother glow that takes off when I've seen you on stage multiple times, and you've built up this renowned group that's mirroring all the old Beatles music, but not just the Beatles, but a lot of the old groups in the 60s and 70s and 80s, whether it's the Eagles or some of the other ones that we just love. It's the songs that we all can pick up and sing with you. And I've seen you on stage, and I've seen you reach a whole nother level of this is where I was meant to be. Playing the guitar and leading a group. I know that you were one of the a small group of people around the globe that was selected for your group to go over to Liverpool to do a Beatles tribute weekend. Tell us a little bit more about that. Where that came from, and where to this day you're still going strong with this. Yeah. And that's what I love about you, that it's like a fire that never goes away. It never ends. And tell us more about that passion.
So actually the largest Beatle convention in the world takes place every year in August in Liverpool, which is where the Beatles were born and raised. it's it's 60 groups normally selected from around the world, from up to 20 different countries, and we were one of 2 groups in the US that were selected to go. You send your videos and your recordings in, and they say these guys have it. And so we were there. We actually took our families there, so the guys got to travel with their spouses and significant others and children. And we did a tour of London. We really actually got to see Abbey Road, and we got to see where John and Paul were inspired to write Eleanor Rigby, and Penny Lane is an actual street. So you really got to fill in some of the puzzle pieces for some of the lyrics of some of these beautiful songs. And I guess when you talk about, the passion and how it makes you feel, ironically, in the middle of the tour, I had burst my appendix unknowingly on a Sunday afternoon, about 1:00 in the afternoon. And we had a concert Sunday night, 2 on Monday, and then we were back on the train and on the plane to the US. And for those 3 concerts that we did, we were right in the middle of it. The lights go on, and the pain just vanishes. The minute the performance is over, I find myself doubled over, having to find a bathroom in 35 seconds. But it's kind of mind blowing, even when you're the one doing it, to say, God, I'm sick to the point where it's hard for me to stand. But when the music starts and the crowd is there, you just kick into a mode that you can't describe. You can relate to this when you speak,
Yeah, exactly.
But I think the thing that I'm really grateful for is that I sort of fumbled into the music as a younger person, and I found the passion like subconsciously, and I've clung to it my whole life. That's always like my soft place to fall, so to speak. That makes all the madness of the business and of what goes on in the family. And this is like a place where you just can't do anything wrong. It's like magical.
It's amazing, because without getting into the nuanced parts of how that story ended with an appendix bursting, I mean, that was life-threatening.
Yes.
I mean, literally. It's nothing to laugh about. I mean, that literally was that severe. And the fact that you were out of the country, with a tribute to something that was so significant, that's so much a part of your life and your passion, an honor in itself to be there, and that somehow you were able to perform and come back and to get through this was amazing. So if I were to sum this up, John, to think about this, because I could talk to you literally for hours, as we've done sometimes, and listening to each other's points and strategies in our life and our business and our families or friends or whatever is going on. We've always been there to talk things out with each other. I think of the intensity. I think of honor. I think of living core values. I think of the love for family. I think of the passion for music. I think of the impact of your dad, especially the great Jesus Connelly, as I affectionately named him, for sticking a knife in my face. What do you all these things seems like an easy point of your legacy? Is or some other way you would sum it up, that someday you'd want people to think of you in this regard? What is there some other way you would put a summary to that?
It's a good question too.
How do you want people talking about you when you're not around? Your reputational, the impact that you made on others, I guess, is another way.
I think those are really the only things that matter. right? As you know, we have two daughters that I love with all my heart and soul. And ironically, never having had a son, we have some salespeople that are young enough to be my son or possibly my grandson. And it's really been very rewarding to watch these people come up and to just try to teach them life lessons or to share life lessons that they might come back to you and say, boy, oh boy, that little nugget, I put that in my pocket. I'm going to carry that with me for my life. Those are the things that sort of really matter to me, just that, when it's all said and done, someone will say, there's an expression, not mine, but one that I love, and it's called, it's the saddest thing in life is wasted talent. And I so firmly believe in that. And to be able to sometimes find a talent in someone or a gift or a quality in someone that they themselves don't even pick up on, and to be able to develop that is a huge thing. Because when you find your gift, when you find your passion, when you find that talent, it's like the building block for your life, And we've watched some of these younger people come in, quadruple their income, get married, start a family, and I'm literally on the sideline just sort of watching it all happen, and feeling maybe selfishly that you held a piece of it,
Yeah. My final thoughts on this is that you've been able to give the gift of listening to others, many, many people. You've had that ability to synthesize what you're hearing. You've got an ability to look somebody back in the eyes and say, this is what I believe you're saying. And it seems like this is what it's coming down to. And you can help others to drive towards the decision that's honorable and what's right to do this. So it's rare that anybody in life can have a special brotherhood as we've had for many, many years now. And I'm forever grateful. And for those people that say, Leo, they want to know my story. For those of you that are listening, this is an amazing part of my success, is being able to introduce you, John, to people that want to know where I started, where I came from, because without your push, without your dad's push, without you writing the first check on May 27th, 1992.
Well, thank you.
I'm forever grateful and have such a love for our brotherhood that I hope everybody listening understands what true friendship and brotherhood over 4 decades plus is all about. So I love you for that. Thank you for everything you've done for me.
Thank you.
And I hope that everybody listening to this can think about the special brothers or sisters in their life, and they can be proactive to pick up the phone or to let them know what those people have meant to them, or whoever's listening to your life. Pick up the phone, write a note. Don't just call, just don't text. Do something. Let somebody know before it's too late. And I know that we've been able to do that to each other for many, many years, and many more years hopefully to come. So thanks for joining me today. Much
my pleasure, Leo. Thanks for having me. Okay.
Thank you.